What I want to do in this video is I want to just discuss the effects of these synthetic electromagnetic fields which are being emitted out of things like radio towers, satellites, network cables, power lines, cell phone towers, cell phones, these new age computers, laptops, all the wireless technology, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 5G, 6G to come, including we've got 3G and 4G. 7G is also on its way. Bluetooth technology, Alexa, Ring doorbells, all of this stuff. And I just want to talk about the how aware people have to be if they've got these things in their house. And I want to make people aware that these things are dangerous and they should be limited to a extreme amount. Like, they should really be limited. First thing that I want to recommend is, if somebody has Wi-Fi in the house, is to get an Ethernet cord. Now, this is just one of the most simple things that anybody can do. I think it costs about £20 just to get an Ethernet cord and stick that into your router. And you can get the Ethernet cord, stick it into your router, and you can get an adapter, which means that you can make it available to put into any device that you have inside your house. So let's just say you've got an Xbox, you've got a PlayStation, a TV. You just get an adapter and you put the adapter, one in the TV, one in the Xbox, one in the PlayStation. You can put it every time you use your phone, put it in there, put your phone in airplane mode, put it in there, bang, you connect to the Ethernet. And it's absolutely amazing because not only you get two great benefits, you get a really fast signal because the signal's traveling straight from the router into your phone and it's much faster. The signal's absolutely incredible and much faster. And number two is that there is no more Wi-Fi now pinging around your house. And another important thing to remember is that I know people are becoming really aware and they've gotten rid of their microwaves and they have stopped cooking all their food in a microwave because they know how dangerous it is. And they've looked at the studies that have been done in Russia and how soldiers were, let's just say, not having a good time after they started using microwaves and stuff like that. And there's also another thing that I want to talk about when it comes to microwaves is that Wi-Fi is exactly the same. Wi-Fi vibrates on the same frequency. It's about 2.4 hertz. I'm sure it's 2.4 hertz. Microwave frequencies vibrate on 2.4 hertz. So does Wi-Fi. So if Wi-Fi is pinging around in your house, you are getting microwaved. It's just like being in a microwave, a bigger microwave. Your house has now become a microwave, basically. And anybody who's looked at the studies when the microwave was first rolled out, they will know how dangerous it is and how aware they have to be. And I just want to make that clear. Another thing that I think people should do is get an EMF meter. Now, this is really important because when you are going maybe somewhere, or maybe you're going on holiday and you want to make sure that you're having a good time, and you're going on holiday and you've booked a holiday because you want to recuperate, you want to recover, you want to go somewhere hot, you want to get some sun, you want to have a great time with your family and friends and stuff like that. There's a lot of things now that I'm going to talk about that you have to watch out for going on holiday. First of all, get an EMF meter, because the hotel that you're staying at, you can go on a great website that's called antennasearch.com and you can see where the hotel is, or where the cottage is that you're staying at, the hotel, the cottage, the B&B that you're staying at and stuff, and you can make sure that there are the least amount of antennas in the area that you are staying in, the least amount of synthetic electromagnetic fields in the place that you're staying in. And what also I would recommend is when you go to the airport, you refuse to go through that irradiation scanner that takes a picture of you naked and completely radiates and zaps your body with X-ray frequencies. You refuse that and you just get a pat down. That's another important thing. A lot of people think that they're suffering from jet lag as well, but when they're going on the plane and they're being blasted with the microwave frequencies and the Wi-Fi on the plane, they're getting microwaved at high altitudes. That's what jet lag is. It's just getting microwaved for long periods of time at high altitudes. It's got nothing to do with the altitude. You're just getting microwaved for a long period of time. You've been in a plane, which is, you're breathing in, first of all, recycled air from the plane, and you are also getting microwaved at the same time. You are sat for 6 hours or 8 hours at high altitudes and getting microwaved. That's what getting microwave is, literally what jet lag is. And when you land, obviously you want to make sure when you go through customs and stuff like that, you again refuse to go through the radiation scanner and you get a pat down. make sure you get a pat down and stuff like that. To be honest, both of those options are rubbish, because one is a molestering option and the second one is basically a death sentence. Both of them are rubbish, you know what I mean, but that's the world that we live in, and it's safe to get a pat down. Of the EMF meter and how important it is to have that any area that you're going in, and make sure that you have make sure you get the tri-field TF2 meter. That's important as well to say. Make sure you get the tri-field TF2 meter, because that is going to measure microwave frequencies, radio frequencies, radar frequencies, electric frequencies, and magnetic frequencies. That's really important then, to measure all the different ones. Some of the new EMF meters, some of these new ones that are coming out, they don't measure all the different types of frequency ranges, as I've been doing my research and been looking into that. So make sure you get one of the old tri-field meters. Those are the best ones. Another little piece of advice that I want to give, I've covered the Ethernet cord, and I've covered make sure your house is all wired up and not walking through any irradiated airport tunnels and stuff like that. And also another thing that's very, very important that people need to know, and I don't know if anybody's looked into this, but the staff that are working near these radiation scanners are coming down with the big C. They're coming down with the big C, yeah. And all of these studies and stuff are being taken off the internet so nobody finds out. The news is suppressing all of this information for coming out, so you want to make sure that you do not walk through that radiation scanner, because the staff who are working there 24 hours at the airport, the security that are working there, they are coming down with the big C, and they're coming down with other major illnesses and stuff like that, because their body is being absolutely electrically destroyed. Everything in this universe is electrical. The bones, the blood, and the muscles are secondary. First, it's electrical. That's what the elites are doing. They're attacking us electrically. So I hope everybody knows that all the staff that are next to that radiation equipment are becoming very, very seriously ill. Most importantly, with the big C. We know what the big C is, don't we? Now, when it comes to, I've covered the EMF meter, I've covered the radiation scanners that give you X-ray therapy and chemotherapy while you're going into a airport. What else do I need to cover now? When you use a laptop or when you use a computer, please make sure that you use a separate keyboard and you distance yourself from that screen as much as possible. You know, when you are super close to the laptop or the computer and you haven't got a separate keyboard, which is like puts you at least 10-12 feet away with a long wire, make sure you've got one of those long wires that you can move the keyboard back and type from a far distance. The work of a doctor called Dr. John Ott, that's Johnott, Dr. John Ott. He did absolutely incredible work when it came to things like radio waves, when it came to things like light bulbs, when it came to things like cell phone towers, all of these synthetic electromagnetic frequencies, when it comes to plastics, when it comes to light bulbs, especially all the rays that are coming off of a light bulb, especially these new ones. But anyway, going back to the computer and going back to the laptop, you want to make sure that you've got a separate keyboard, because a lot of people started coming down with things like carpal tunnel during the era when the computer started coming out. And now I know what people are going to say, oh, it's the angle that they're typing in, it's the angle. No, it's not. When the typewriter in the early 1900s was being used, absolutely nobody came down with carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel wasn't even a problem. It didn't even exist. And think about that, when they were doing the typewriters and that thing was coming back and forward, they had to smack the typewriter, didn't they? They had to absolutely whack it and still nothing happened. So you want to make sure that you've got a separate keyboard, and that's going to help a significant amount. You want to make sure also a good idea is to get some yellow blue light blocking glasses. You know what I mean? If you're doing some long laptop research sessions and stuff like that, you want to make sure not only that you're a far distance from that laptop, but you're on the you've got some blue light blocking glasses to block all those frequencies and messing with your eyes. Another thing that you can do to protect yourself, another solution, is that you can get this, it's really quite incredible, you can get this EMF blocking paint. Now, people are going to ask, how can paint block EMFs? Well, copper is one of the most incredible things that can block EMFs. That's why all of the copper pipes in people's houses, they are trying to get people to get rid of their copper pipes or their lead pipes. Lead and copper both block electromagnetic frequencies, and that's actually really important because lead kind of gets a bad rap, because we used to have lead paint and copper paint. I'll come into that though in a little bit. So you can get some of these EMF blocking paints and they contain high amounts of copper. That's why. So when you paint your wall with it's just white paint, and you paint your wall with EMF blocking paint, you are blocking all the electromagnetic fields from entering your home, and you are creating kind of like a force field around your home. And you can also look into copper shielding. These are these kind of curtains that you can get that are lined with copper that work really, really well, and they create kind of like a net. So you can put that around. Let's just say if you've got a smart meter, the first thing to do though, by the way, is just get rid of the smart meter. I was giving advice to some people who have got a smart meter and they didn't really want to call the company because of the awkwardness and swap it to an analog. I don't understand why they didn't just call the company, but I gave them advice. I said go and get some copper shielding and make sure that you just wrap the whole smart meter so then it's not pinging through the whole house. But in common sense, just get an analog meter. Just call the company, tell them that you are suffering from EMS, electromagnetic sensitivity, from all this synthetic radiation that's being permitted through the technology. You just give them a call, they'll swap it to an analog meter. They're not allowed to not swap it, they have to swap it. They have to swap it. Remember that. The government works for you, it's not the other way around. And yeah, just make sure you've got it all shielded up. And yeah, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.